Hi, I'm Richard Whiffin. I'm a director at Passion for Life Healthcare, and we manufacture, design and distribute the Snoreeze brand. And in this National Stop Snoring Week, we've partnered with the Sleep Council, and you've kindly sent your questions in, and I'm going to look at a few of them today, and together we're going to help you get a better night's sleep. Okay, so Angela tweeted into the Sleep Council with this question. I snore, I know, I've been told. But why do I often wake up tired? Well, first of all, Angela, well done for admitting it, because a lot of us don't like to admit that we snore. So you snore, okay, but you're tired as well. So what's going on? Well, all snoring somehow is going to be connected with a narrowing of your airway. So if your airway is narrowed, you're tending to get less air through to your lungs. If you get less air through to your lungs when you're asleep, then you get less oxygen in your blood during the time that you're asleep. Oxygen in the blood is a brilliant thing to help sort out all the things that are going on in your brain, because your brain's very clever, and while you sleep it sorts out all the stuff that's gone on in the day and puts it all in the right places. It's a bit like a kind of tidying operation at home. So if you're not getting enough oxygen, because you're not getting enough air, because your airway's narrowed, and that's usually connected with your snoring, that tidying away process isn't going to happen. So that's why you can have a perfectly good night's sleep as far as you're concerned, 8 hours of sleep, not aware of anything, but you feel tired. It means that you didn't get enough oxygen in your blood while you're asleep, and your body needs to catch up the next day. So that could be sleep apnea, could be obstructive sleep apnea, and it would be worth going to talk to your doctor about that if you think you've got that. Sometimes people who are really heavy snorers, who don't actually have sleep apnea, nevertheless have a reduced oxygen in their blood, and that's just because their airway is narrowed quite a lot. It's reducing their oxygen. It's not quite the clinical condition, but if you're feeling tired, it probably means you need to do something about it. Normally for that kind of situation, we'd recommend our oral device, Snoreeze oral device. Have a go with that, but go and see a doctor at the same time. So Sandy tweeted into the Sleep Council this question. My husband snores really loud, and every once in a while, every night, he'll suddenly do a really loud snore that jerks him awake, and me too. Is this normal? Well, Sandy, the answer is it's quite common, but it's not normal. I think what you're describing there is something that we would call a sign of someone who's probably having an apneic moment. And that means that when we snore really loudly, we've probably got a narrowing of our airway, and there's a lot of vibration going on because of that. But if you get to the point where there's a really loud snore, and then there's a period of quiet and a jerk, that's usually indicative of somebody where the airway's actually fully closed. And they call that an apnea, which means your airway's got blocked for a while. And that means that the oxygen isn't getting through to your husband's lungs. It means that after a while, your body, which is incredibly clever, says there's something wrong here, and it jerks him into a state of wakefulness or half wakefulness. He probably might not even be aware of it, and that will open his airway and he'll breathe out again. And I'm afraid it's the jerking of him suddenly becoming aware of that that's keeping you awake too. So it's not good for him, and it's not good for you. The good news is it is treatable. And I think probably in this kind of situation, we'd want to say, Sandy, I think you probably need to go and have a word with your husband and say, go and have a talk with your doctor. There are products, some of the products we distribute and make available, but other things as well that your husband could have a look at, but certainly I'd get your GP involved. So Joe tweeted into the Sleep Council this question. How do you know whether you're a nasal or an oral snorer, or both? So Joe, thanks for the question. I have to say it's a question I've heard loads of times, and actually it's, I would say it's probably the wrong question. We often think that we snore through our nose because our nose as a sort of sound chamber where the sound comes out. So because the sound comes out of our nose, there it is, I just did it, you can think that you're a nasal snorer. But that's not really what's going on. What's happening is there's turbulent air somewhere in your airway, and wherever it is, eventually it's going to come out your nose with a noise, so you can think, I'm nasal. But that's not really the issue. The question is, where is your airway narrowing and where is the tissue vibrating? So you could have a narrowed airway. The sort of people who have a narrowed airway would be somebody who's got a cold, because the tissue swells up, it reduces the size of the air passage, or you could have an allergy to something. Actually, the most common allergy, Joe, which people don't think about very often, is allergy to bed mite and dust in the bedroom, which a lot of us neglect, but actually has an effect on loads of us. Or it could be obviously seasonal stuff that's coming on. So it could be that your airway is narrowing in your nasal passage, in which case you want something like Snoreeze nasal spray or nasal strips or something like that. Or the airway could be narrowing further down. It could be narrowing somewhere between here, which is your septum, and your soft palate, which is at the top of your mouth, in which case the vibration would actually be probably happening around your soft palate. You'd still get the noise out the nose, but it would be tissue at the back of your throat that you'd want to try and treat, which is why we've got something like Snoreeze throat spray. Of course, sometimes, Joe, what can happen is you've got narrowing of your airway at the back of your throat, or your tissues vibrating at the back of your throat, and that's why you snore, and then it gets worse because you've got a cold or you've got an allergy or something like that, in which case if you found the throat spray worked for you, but it didn't work for you when you had an allergy, you'd want to use the nasal spray as well at that time. But that's not most of us, that's just a few people who naturally snore most nights and then snore worse when they've got a cold or an allergy.